What's up, Bobber Nation? It's Jim Bobbington. It is spring, and I'm finally out on the bike again. Seems like such a long time since we've been out here together. Hi. Hi there. You can't really tell, but stuff's starting to turn green. It's maybe 60 degrees, not very windy today. So I figured I'm finally ready to talk about the tachometer. My thoughts, review, do I think it's worth $300? So stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back. I don't know exactly what mile mark I installed the tachometer on, but I've been riding with it for at least a few hundred miles. And I don't take long rides all at once usually, so that's lots of little rides here and there for the most part. I'm not a clickbaity kind of guy, so I'm just going to come right out and tell you the answer, and then you can continue to listen if you'd like to hear my explanation. Is the $300 Indian Analog Tachometer worth it? And I'm going to go ahead and say, for the vast majority of people, 90% easily, no, it's not worth it for you. But I am not the vast majority of people. There's a certain handful of us that like analog gauges. And I happen to be one of them. This tachometer is one of the most polarizing subjects in the community that I have ever seen. I've never seen anybody hate on anything more than an analog gauge that somebody wants to add to their bike. It's very strange and somehow frustrating. But that's neither here nor there. The vast majority of people, one, don't want it in the first place. So I'd say 70% maybe people are like, that's fucking dumb. I use my ears to know when to shift. Those kind of people. Then the rest of us, we think it's cool, kind of want one. But still, I would say for the most of you, you are not going to feel that it's worth $300, sorry. So let me tell you the pros and cons about it. So I've seen this mentioned by a couple other people. I've noticed it as well. Yes, the analog tachometer is more responsive and more accurate than the OEM digital tachometer. But if you're just free revving it, grabbing throttle while it's in neutral at a stop, it's going to react slower than it should. In my opinion, that's okay. I don't need to know the exact RPMs that it's in when I'm just sitting in a parking lot revving it to 4,000 RPMs for no reason. So that's the biggest downside I've seen anybody mention. The other con, it's got a shift light right here where the Indian face is, that turns orange, and that light is just about useless unless you're actually looking at it. I've tried a bunch of times to hit the rev range where it turns on, which is 7,500 RPMs, and out of the corner of my eye I cannot see it in broad daylight. Now granted, I haven't gone out at night, but if you're racing around at night, you're stupid anyway. So those are the two biggest cons. For a lot of people, the shift light is novelty. There are some people that would actually want the shift light to be useful and effective. I could kind of go either way. It doesn't bug me that I can't see it, but I also at the same time wish I could see it. But let's go over the pros. So obviously the stock tachometer is slow and terrible, has a very bad refresh rate, only rounds to increments of 50, and when you're riding around, the sunlight is changing constantly, and it's very hard to read at a glance. This thing is easy. You could glance at it anytime, just real quick like, and then in your head you can figure out what the RPM was just from a quick glance, very quickly. The orange needle, the bright white letters, it's all very much easier to read, as well as more reactive to throttle inputs and responsive. It looks like it belongs there, in my opinion. I've seen plenty of people say that it's ugly, but it looks OEM to me. At night, the lights look very similar. It's very matchy-matchy. Now, all of that still doesn't necessarily make it worth it to most people. And here's what makes the $300 worth it to me. I'm sure I've mentioned a few times, at the very minimum, that I have some OCD tendencies. And just knowing that something is off or wrong or crooked bugs the shit out of me. And I knew that the digital tachometer was very inaccurate, terribly slow, and hard to read, and it bugged me. And that was the biggest reason I wanted this guy. Now, after installing it, it was somewhat novel at the beginning, and I was always checking it out, trying to gauge what it's doing, making sure it looked accurate and that sort of thing. But as the novelty wore off, I stopped looking at it. And it's not because I got bored with it. It's because I trust it. Hopefully you saw that orange light, but yeah, I didn't. Unless I was looking straight at it. So I didn't stop looking at it because I was bored with it. It's because I trust it, and I no longer have this nagging sensation that there's this instrument on my bike that is shitty. I was surprised to find out that the digital tachometer disappears once you install the analog tachometer, and I honestly think that's great. But yeah, it's just this wave of calmness and peacefulness came over me, where I no longer have this incessant feeling that there's something wrong with an instrument on my bike, and it just gives me that little percentage more of enjoyment. Less stuff to worry about. I'm not always looking at it and trying to figure out how far off it is. I can enjoy riding and not even thinking about it that much more. And when it's there, I can look down and be like, oh shit, I'm going 3,500 RPM, no problem. Very easy to tell. It's there when you need it, and it's not there when you don't need to think about it. And that peace of mind is what put me over the edge, and I 100% do not regret my purchase. So that, in a nutshell, is my review of the Indian tachometer. Let me see if I could leave you one more time with a little shift light, so you can get an idea of how it works. Here we go. But thanks for watching. As always, this is Jim Bobbington reminding you, do not be a skid mark. But go ahead and click the link down in the description and order a Don't Be a Skid Mark sweatshirt or t-shirt. That's fine. Also, feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.